new adventure today. This is the first time for this webinar. So let me start by giving some credit where credit is due. The presentation is based on some beginning work done by our MVP, Akesh Gupta, on using SQL Azure, and he has a couple of videos that you can see on early use of Azure. The thing about the cloud is it's constantly changing, and so what you'll find in early videos rapidly becomes out of date. So what are we going to cover today? Well, we'll talk a little bit. Still showing the front screen. We're not showing, show my screen. Let's try show my screen. Yeah, but we don't see the slides moving. Okay. Well, we've got a problem here. Don't know what's happening and why my slides are not showing up. It's interesting. Let me possibly have to hook up again. Show my screen. Screen is paused, and play it. Let me see if this works. I'm going to stop showing the screen. No one sees your screen. Okay, so now I'm putting my screen back. Okay, I think, let's see if we can, let's see if we can you see a change? Okay. All right. Well, a little technical difficulty there. We'll get back in sync with GoToWebinar, and we'll be off. As I said, the presentation is thanks to beginning work by Akesh. We're covering what do you mean by the cloud, and then deploying databases and deploying your application to a server. What do we mean by the cloud? Also, by the way, as Jill said, enter your questions at any time. We'll go through once quickly through the slides to give you an overall sense of what we're doing. Then we're going to actually go look at some of the things, and while you're doing that, we'll take questions as we go with it, cover them all at the end. The cloud is the use of computing resources that are delivered as a service over a network. It's the simplest summary of the explanation I found on Wikipedia. They always seem to have something good to say about almost everything. The easiest way to understand the cloud is to think of it as a utility, like electricity. You buy the computer service, and it's not quite like electricity because you don't have to understand much to use electricity, but believe me, you'll find out you have to figure out a lot of little things when you work with the cloud, at least these days. But there's another good link. These slides will be available on our website, and Jill says she's mailing them out later, so they'll be available to you later. Examples of the cloud service, the ones I'm going to talk about today, are Microsoft, a very large provider, and Uhuru, a startup, very small provider. We have applications running on both. Of course, there are many others. There's Amazon, Rackspace, and a host of others. Just go on the web and look for cloud, and you'll be overwhelmed with all the choices you have. Database and or application deployment. We talked about this is what you deploy in the cloud for purposes of deployment. An Iron Speed Designer application is two distinct parts. We think of them separately. You can either deploy your database to the cloud or your application to the server. You can deploy either one, or you can deploy both. The original database could be in Microsoft Access, MySQL, or Microsoft SQL Server, but the services that we use all work with Microsoft SQL Server. So if you have an Access database and you want to deploy your database to the cloud, you convert it to SQL Server. There are good methods to convert it. You can depending on which version of Access you have, and here's a couple of links that will allow you to do that process. So we've already done that ahead of time. I've taken the job application sample database. I believe it's the Southwind sample database that we have and distribute with IronSpeed Designer, converted it to SQL Server, and we'll use it today for the demonstration. As an example, here's the SQL Server example database converted to the Azure cloud in SQL Server Management Studio. Well, why don't we just open up SQL? Where did you put my programs? And my Management Studio. We'll connect to the cloud server that I have. This is the Azure 90-day trial that I'm working on here and is available to any of you who want to try it. And I urge you to do that if you're at all interested. This is you'll be using this more and more, so now's a good time to find out about it. On the Azure service, I have two databases. I have one called Paintings and one called Southwind. Paintings is my own. It's a database of my son's artwork. And we have applications for both. But now having these databases in the cloud, which amounted to nothing more than taking them from any SQL server on which you put them. One of these I did at home, and one of them I did here at work. And exporting the scripts, taking the scripts and importing them, running the script to populate the database back here on the cloud. So we have the Southwind, which is what we'll look at first. The standard database and the views, it's all as you'd expect to see it. And so we'll be using that today for our application. Back to the slides. So then you need to generate your application. Well, you generate your application with IronSpeed Designer. I'm not going to do that right now because it's already been done. And if you want to see that, you can come to the Getting Started webinar or any of the other webinars where we generate applications. But we've generated several applications with IronSpeed Designer. Create the website in Azure and configure it. Then use FTP to populate it and browse. Simple steps. Well, let's go take a look at my link to Azure here. So I can go to Azure. There. And get this out where I can see it. And as I said, I have an account at Azure based on the 90-day trial. One of the things I'm still trying to figure out from them is exactly what the account charges are. Very interesting. Of course, that determines whether or not a service is useful to you. So it's an important point, but I hope to get that out of our trial. In any event, when you get your account and sign in, you have your Azure dashboard. And where we have two websites and two databases. I told you we had in Management Studio, we could see both the Paintings and the Southwind database available in the cloud. And it was, as I said, just as simple as defining the database. Defining the database here, if we go to Cloud Services, SQL databases, that's what we're using. We're not using the Cloud Services or the raw storage system. Using that is a different thing. And we won't even talk about that today. But we can add a new database at any time. and go ahead and create it. And it will create it, and then it will be available in a little while through your Management Studio, and then you can use scripts to populate it, et cetera, et cetera. That's all I'm going to say about that. This webinar isn't about the details of using the cloud, but all of the details about any particular cloud service, but about how the cloud interacts with your IronSpeed Designer applications. So, and we also have the Uhuru cloud service. So let's take a look at that. We have a link to that. And the same thing there, I have a trial account there, which they've graciously given me. So that, and actually as far as I understand, Uhuru is still giving out trial accounts. And so, come on guys, for logging in. I don't want to log in here. I want to log in here. Okay, if logging me in is the wrong, this is a problem I've had before, logging me in as the wrong person, and I don't want to do that, so we'll have to. Let's see. See if this works again. Come on, guys. Don't want to sign up. I want to go to, let's see. That's the wrong thing. Well, we may have to abandon this for right now, unless I can figure out where the right starting page is, because they've got me logging in under a wrong account here. I had that trouble yesterday, and I think it hasn't lost my cookies yet, although maybe that's exactly what I should do. Here we go. Choose your account. Ready to go. They make it easy to get to your account. Well, the easiest thing is to simply go back here and, oops, not questions yet. We'll take the because what we have is a help page on our help. If you go to our online help, you can see the exact steps for deploying to the cloud and go through this. There's not much to it. Except for the details of why things don't work and the matching up of frameworks of your application, and configuration is everything. Anyway, by all means, take a look at the steps here, get your own Uhuru account, and once you do, you'll be able to, let me see, you need to go to view my Explorer history, and we got yesterday, and we've got Uhuru Cloud. What do we got? Windows, Azure. Let's try using this one, Uhuru Cloud. Build it, Eric White. Here we go. Nope. Still doesn't like that. Sign up for an account. Well, guys, that's not going to make it. So what we're doing is services. So what we'll demonstrate is the application that's up there. Once you're logged into the account, as shown on our help pages, page. That's not the right one. My Cloud Azure websites. There. And okay. Well, instead of looking at those, let's just go back to Azure, because Uhuru is not going to cooperate with me. In the Azure, we can go to our website instead of, here we go. The website's already running, and you'll notice that I've done it twice. We could do it again. Now, all of these cloud sites, at least in their test form, are widely shared, and so you'll notice some delays in startup. But here you'll see a typical, our usual demonstration application, all running in the cloud on the Azure website. So, and deploying it was no more than going back to our Azure. If we have a website, on the page for your website, after you've created it, again, you create it simply by clicking a new website. The first thing you'll want to do is make sure that you configure it. Important parts of configuration are which framework you're using, either the 3.5 or the 4.5 framework. But since Iron Speed Designer doesn't yet produce 4.5 applications, then that's coming up in the next release. But for now, we're limited to the 3.5 framework. We don't care about PHP version, of course. And the only other thing that's important in the settings is your default documents, where you want default ASPX, which is the default page that we use, to be the top of the list. Once you've configured that and your website matches up with the framework you're using, the other important part about websites is how to get them there. And actually, we were looking at a link for my history, which showed the link for the help. Took me a little while to figure out how to deploy an Azure website, but using FTP. The only other part about it is that with FTP, you have to get the correct FTP connection. The correct FTP connection comes from, where are we going here? Back to where I was. Comes from configuring our website. In particular, view connection string, download a published profile. If you download a published profile, once you have a website and you want to know how to publish it, you can download your published profile, save it somewhere where I happen to have it from yesterday, and look at the published settings, and you'll see you have all the settings you need to publish your website. FTP publishing or web deploy, anyway, we use the FTP, FTP to this site, this username, and away you go. It's exactly what has happened with the website we have. So both of these were deployed in exactly that way. And these are actually the same website, so just slight differences. Let's see. It's time for questions. We've been through, this is really what I have to present in sort of a broad brush. The rest are lots of details. Does Azure support older versions of SQL? SQL 2005? I believe it will, Stephen, but it's not really a matter of what SQL they're running. They aren't running SQL. They're providing a service that makes it look like SQL over the network. I'm pretty sure they're not just giving you SQL Server, but maybe they are. And then in that case, I'd say it would probably be 2008 R2 or 2012, but more likely 2008. In particular, you can take any database, SQL Server database, back even earlier than that, I think, generate scripts for it, and it's the scripts that transfer the schema and content to the Azure website. So your database is populated with the scripts, and possibly that's something we should look at more. I populated a test database here, but I didn't do anything with it. So let's actually go back to my SQL Server. Go back to my, this is rather incestuous, but let's take a look at it. If we go to databases, report, no. Okay, can't do it here, so let's go to connect with database engine, and let's look for my local server. So on my local server, we have lots of databases. In particular, we also have Southwind, which we used before, and actually I think this is exactly where this one came from. So if we script database as wrong thing, here we go. Database, let's take a look at the notes here. Use the database task to generate scripts. Databases. Okay, guys. Where is my tasks? Reports. Why am I not seeing tasks on this? Okay. Task, there it is. On my database, task, we want to generate scripts for it. Script the entire database. Actually, we'll just do selected values. We'll just script the tables. Although you could choose everything. Why not? Doesn't hurt. And we're going to save those scripts. I haven't tried to publish to web service, and that was one of the things on my list, but we are exploring this as you are, since much of this stuff is new and just coming online. Anyway, we're saving the scripts. We'll save it to the file, which I'll go ahead and put off in my temp folder for right now. That's all I care about. And when we get that, see what Advanced gives to us. And I even have some notes I'm sure we made. Oh, I don't have the notes, but let's see. Whoopsie daisy, generate and publish. Generally, we want to script, drop, and create extended properties. We don't care about the script extended properties. Uh, script for server version, you can pick that. Logins, include, generate, ANSI. Most of the defaults in your scripting options are good, but there's a couple you might want to consider changing. I'm just looking for what those are. Script bindings, server version, login, constraints, full text. We do want our foreign keys. Generally, these are all right. So let's see, types of database. This is what we want. We don't want schema only. We want schema and data. We want use database, which means we will have already created the database there, and we have a test database, which is what we want to populate. And actually, if that's the case, we may need to change the name in our script when we generate it, but that's okay. Extended properties, defaults. All right, let's go ahead and try that. The good thing about this is you can use it as many times as you want. Selected objects, target, we do next. Let's see what this looks like. Save to file, there we go. That's finished, so then we can, head on off to our temp folder. If I can find my temp folder. And look for our test Southwind. And you'll see that basically we have our database. So if you haven't examined, of course this is lots of pictures, so we'll see lots of this kind of stuff for the pictures. But it's all there, and then you can use that script simply in SQL Server. Go to our, let's see, I need to refresh this. Look at my test. Look for a new query. And where is my, back to where I was. Back to file, reopen my Southwind. Because what I want to do is copy the whole thing. Easiest way I know to put it into my query. And create table, use Southwind, and here is where you'll want to make sure the name corresponds with your database, which is test in my case. So let's see what happens when we execute the query. Will I get an error or not? Depends on, I may have, seems to me when I did this before, there were some changes I had to make in the script, which means you just have to make some global changes. And there may be one or two. We'll see what I get for a query. Meanwhile, let's take a look at the next question. Will you be sending out the notes, scripts? No, the scripts are whatever comes with your database. So that's what you generate them from your database. The scripts are just secondary products. It's the database that matters. So once you have it, as you saw, all you do is take any database you've got with Management Studio, generate the full scripts for it, and then take that and put it into SQL Server. Now, that may be a problem. That's interesting. There may be a problem for some very, very large databases, but this is a good-sized database, nice sample database, and it has no problem with the scripts for it. Just takes a while, as we're watching. Anyway, let's see. Is there anything else? No, and as Jill said, she'll be sending out an email to you a package which will contain the slides with the URLs. I'll include with the package the text notes which I use behind the scenes to actually run the URLs. That's no problem. And my query is still executing, which is why you generally do things ahead of time. Well, we have done things. We'll let it sit and execute. Go back, and why not? Let's go back and play with Uhuru. See if we can get them to log me into the correct account. And what we need here, sign up. Let's just try going here first. I think I know the problem here. I'm willing to bet that, so we'll see if we can. There we go. This time it logged me in because it remembered the correct account. These things are sometimes fickle, but that's the way it goes. In the Uhuru cloud, I have one database. Not actually, I don't have a database. I'm not using a database there. I have one application, and this is an IronSpeed Designer 9.11 application. Okay, this is interesting. It's got me, so let's go back home. We're looking at the wrong section. Not only that, it's logged me in as, okay, here we go. Let's try it. Log out. Log in again. Which login is it going to let me use? Here's what we need, and that's the problem right there. It's got me the wrong account. Access your account. Sign in with a different Microsoft account is what I was looking for all along. The trouble is, after you use enough of these, keeping them all straight is sometimes not that easy. We'll use this account this time, which is my home account, and where I should have the rest of the databases. And now we're looking at number of clouds. Okay. Here we have my other application, which is deployed pretty much the same way. You create the application, but in the Uhuru cloud, you use the publish to the website to publish your application. That's all detailed in, one, the article that I pointed you to, and two, the article, the excellent help articles on Uhuru's site. So here we have our application, which is running in their cloud. And so another IronSpeed application, this time generated with a database of paintings instead of products and categories. But the principle is the same. You put it on the cloud, and off you go. And that's pretty much it, people. If you have any questions, I urge you to answer them now, ask them now, because otherwise we can always finish early. That's not a problem. You've got the material, and this is all about trying the service. There is no substitute for getting on and trying, because it is all the little details which will cause you to temporarily hit a stumbling block and figure out what's going on. The places that I've been so far, both Uhuru and Microsoft, have been very helpful in their online help, but you do have to search for it. None of these things are going to just sit there and hold your hand. So, but with a little bit of effort, and remember, break it in. It's two parts. It's your database and your application itself. You can start with the database, or you can start with your application. And indeed, with the Uhuru Cloud, it's just the application. The database for this is on another service called Arvix, which is also hosting the real live application. This is a trial application, but we also have the same thing running in live on, let's see if I can. So here's the live web application with published URL. The rest of the URLs we're looking at today are simply test URLs, which are not published anywhere. And although they're live, if you want to use them, nobody's going to give them to you to tell you to go to the website. Here's the live paintings database. So you can see that, and in the cloud I haven't updated it quite to the latest version, but that's okay. You get the idea. Let's see what the next question was. Which do you find is more responsive clouds, Azure or Uhuru? Dave, I don't have a lot of experience with them. I generally get the impression that Azure, as you might expect, is a much bigger operation, and we're sort of a drop in the bucket. We're not even a blip on their radar when we're talking about our resources that we're using. So I think that it's generally responsive there, but it has delays, particularly in the startup of a website. If you haven't used your website for a while, and these are just websites, they're not pre-compiled, so the web server is going to take some time compiling your pages, and that seems to go along at a nice stodgy clip. Is there any site that can support Ironcloud instead of what we see? Ironcloud. I think you mean, well, I don't know exactly. Adele, I'm not sure what the question is. If you could rephrase it for me, that'll help a lot, because I'm not sure exactly what you mean. Are there any special settings required when generating the application in IronSpeed for cloud deployment? Taris? No, there aren't. But of course, the important things, as I said, you've got to learn what the limitations of your cloud deployment service are ahead of time. For instance, as I showed you in Azure, you can deploy in Framework 3.5 or deploy in Framework 4.5, but you can't deploy a Framework 4.0 application in Azure. I already tried that. I tried deploying this website, which you're seeing here, which is a 4.0 website, which is what's needed for the Uhuru service. And there are some deficiencies. I haven't bothered to work through them. I'll actually try it later with our new version we're testing, which will generate 4 or 5 applications, and so I can try it later there, but that's not for this webinar. In any event, pay particular attention to what framework you're generating in. Otherwise, I haven't encountered any real difficulties. Let's see. Your opinion, is cloud worth the effort to compare to speed of dedicated server and ISP SQL server? That's a good question. I think overall the cloud is the future of where a lot of things are going to go. And so I think it's important to know about it and to learn to use it. I'm still trying to find out the exact economics for on a small scale of using the Azure cloud. I know there are lots of companies using it on a large scale, and so it's definitely worth knowing about and worth considering. And my way of estimating costs, let's see, is the cloud worth the effort? And then now, a tough question. It says, Bill says, the charges for cloud are so difficult to figure out. That's exactly my point. We have clients interested but need to know what the charges will be, including bandwidth. Have you found any way to estimate costs? Bill, that's exactly what I'm trying to do here. I've got this trial account. It doesn't let me use, it uses a cut-down version of their services, but hopefully I'm going to get an answer out of their accounting department which tells me, oh, you've used resources worth so much for this time period. That's the only way I know to do it, because I looked at the accounting, the different charges, and if you go to your Azure and you look at the dashboard, your session is timed out. Okay. Click OK to log in again. Unable to find any subscribers. I love this. They lose you sometimes, but that's okay. They'll get me back. Let's go to another. We don't need these categories here. We've looked at this one. Let's kill a couple of these. This one we need. The paintings here we need. Here's the paintings on the cloud. Here's the paintings live on the web. And here is let's go back. Also, we'll kill the script. I don't need the script anymore. And my published settings. If I remember, the published settings are what you get in Azure to find out where to send things in FTP. So we'll go back to Windows Azure. Come on. And hope it'll, oh, yeah, this is, here's a problem you wouldn't even think about, except that I can't do it here. What I need is my other browser. Where is Chrome? Okay. The problem we've got is that I've got a couple of different Microsoft accounts. Uhuru uses a Microsoft account, one of them, my home account, and Azure uses my work account, my IronSpeed email address. And so trying to switch back and forth in the same browser where it's trying to remember account settings and doesn't recognize which site you're on turns out to be a little confusing. So you have to use them in different browsers. So let's see what's going on here. Yes, I want Scooter software. What is going on here, guys? I don't want this. No. What? Wrong thing. That was beyond compare. No wonder. Where is my Google Chrome? Sorry about that, people. I took. Do I not have it on here? And you know, I think we might be missing it because this is a new machine. I had to switch machines a little while ago, and we haven't even switched. And so I really want to switch to another browser. But right now, as soon as we get off this webinar, that's exactly where I'm going. I'm going to put Chrome and Firefox on here because the answer to my problem is switching back and forth is definitely to use them in different browsers. Dave says Amazon's cloud also. For there, he must mean some of the things I've said about Azure. I have no experience with Amazon's cloud. I haven't used it. Remember, this is IronSpeed. We make IronSpeed Designer, which produces these excellent web applications, and the cloud is just where you can deploy them. So, of course, we don't spend a lot of time worrying about all the possibilities. We try to cover as much as we can, and it's why we're doing this webinar, to get you aware of the possibilities. But we aren't selling cloud service. We're selling our applications, which you can run anywhere. Which hosting company is it compatible with IronSpeed and easy to use? Okay. I personally haven't had too much problem with Uhuru. They were starting up, and so I had a few problems. You'll see I have a long log of the support case, but they were very responsive. Microsoft, on the other hand, is big. They do give you the help you need, and they were very easy. With this trial account, I could easily access their SQL Server databases, create databases for myself, use those databases in the applications in Designer, and it's now. Why don't we said we won't necessarily generate IronSpeed Designer, but let's just take a look at how you would use this. One thing you do, I have my database in IronSpeed Designer, and so, or in the cloud, right? We've all seen it. So let's just generate a new application. We won't actually generate it, but one of the places we can get our database is in Microsoft SQL Azure. Put in my server here, give the password, and remember that was from those settings come from, let's go back and reopen my published setting, from the published settings for the website that I'm using. And so here are my settings, my username. Now try not to remember this password for me so you don't steal my account. But if you've got a screen scraper, you probably can, but that's right, it's just a test account. And so we take these. Let's just do that here. Why not? For fun, make sure it works. It's worked several times before, although you're never quite 100% sure that it worked once. Is it going to work again? It's always a great adventure. Let's go back to my username. Okay. Whoops. Think I got there. Yeah, let's see. Publish. Did I do that? Yes. Well, we'll find out when we actually do it. And the important part is my published URL. No, this is not. Oh, this is wrong. Okay. Sorry about this. This is not what I'm looking for. This is my website. Let's go back to here we go. SQL Server, connect, database engine. So the question here is, how am I going to, well, connect with my database. Here's my server. Let's see what this does. Okay. So let's connect to my server, IronSpeed. Here. Doing this backwards. I started to connect this up to our application, and it's not the application I need. It's ISD. Now let's just test and see if that's going to solve it. So what I've done is there you go. So now we're using the database out of our cloud service. This is the server name that Microsoft gives me in my Azure SQL database. And the password, username and password are what I set. And now it will have an application. This is the application, the Southwind application that we'll be using. So if we go to next, it'll actually show us we could use also a paintings application because we have all the database here, the same thing you saw over in SQL Server Management Studio. So no problem hooking up using your database out of the cloud. Once you do that, you can use your database out of the cloud, or as you saw in Uhuru, you can use your database on another server as long as it's available open on the web, which is what the Arvix database is. You can have your application refer to it in the connection string, and then your IronSpeed application will use that database wherever it is. So if you want to have it on a slow server or someplace, which is where mine are, because they're less expensive that way, then you can go ahead and do that. And you can have traffic flying around all over the place. It's very important. Let's see what other questions we have. Which hosting companies compatible with IronSpeed and Easy? I think I got them all. Yeah, these are okay. We don't have any more. So, okay, unless you have any more questions, that's all I've got for you today. There are lots of places to go. The usual thing at the end of the webinar, we tell you, oh, what do you do from here? Well, we've had several. One of them is, by all means, I'd try Amazon and try a couple others. I'd try Rackspace too, if you can get a test account. For choosing or finding out what your charges are going to be, so far the way I see it, the only way you're going to do that is to actually try it and see what it costs you. So budget a couple $100 for a small test, or and go ahead and sign up for a service and see what they're going to charge you. How about my errors in the SQL management? Not sure what you're referring to, Dave. Let's see. Did we get any error? Where's my? Come on. Oh, selected. Here we go. Ah, here. Okay. Finally, it stopped and told me that I had some errors. I hope this is what you're referring to. So let's get out of here. And does not exist object DB. Okay, thanks. This is what we're looking at. Yeah, in the script here, there was something, I think, let me just take a look at the script over in, I've seen this problem before, and so we'll go to just reopen my script for Southwind and go up to beginning here. We'll take a look at some. The problem is, okay, last time it may be the on primary, which has to go. And so, but let's take a look at that error again. File group reference and partitioning scheme is not supported in this version of SQL Server. Ah, that's interesting. So, file group reference and partitioning scheme, I may need to generate the script in a different form. I'm not sure about that one. But you're looking at the kinds of things that you'll encounter. DBO orders, the rest of it after the first errors, the rest are all secondary errors. I'm sure this is the problem, and I'll have to find out what that means. So I'll have to go back to them. Actually, I will try generating the script a couple other times. I may have left something out. When you generate the script, it's important that you pick the right parameters, and there's only a few you can, but that make a difference, but those are important. So we're about to wrap it up, so I don't think I'm going to go any more detail than that, since we've already done it twice. To send it over there is just another exercise to send it over again, but you can see that everything isn't seamless yet. There are too many options, so that there's just a few things that get off a little. Pay attention to your error messages, and use search a lot, and you'll get there in a relatively good time. That's all I have for today. Let's take a look. I think with our slides, we're at the end for questions and the end of the webinar. So we'll get the material together for Jill to mail out to you, and we'll hope to see you again at another webinar. Thanks, and have a good day.